Identifying the many different species of European butterflies can be quite challenging, and in my opinion one of the best ways to do that is by joining an ecotourism holiday with a company like Greenwings. That's because you meet like-minded individuals with similar interests, but also because you get great expert guidance from the tutors. Now, I've been fortunate enough to have been asked by Greenwings to co-lead trips to northern Greece and southern Greece, and on my last trip I went with the accomplished illustrator Richard Lewington. Richard really has a good grasp on the identification of the different blues found in Greece, and in the next bit of film you'll see him showing the diagnostic features which separate some of them. I guess if you want to learn more about identifying the blues that he doesn't mention, you might consider joining us on a Greenwings trip, or you could participate in a volunteers trip to Corfu to help Corfu butterfly conservation with the Corfu Butterfly Survey.
But if it's got checkered wing fringes, then here it could well be, or is most probably, Adonis blue. So if we look for that, that narrows it down to very few butterflies. Chalkhill blue has got checkered wing fringes. One that most people don't think about is the brown argus, which also quite often has, that's the mountain argus. That also sometimes has checkered wing fringes. The other thing to look for, I keep on about this cell spot on the underside of the forewing, which the common blue has, and the cell spot is that spot there. This is the cell part of the wing, and that spot there, closest to the body, is the one that's either absent or present. And it's present in the common blue, it's present in Adonis blue and Chalkhill blue. But if you're looking at a blue, even in England or here, and it looks a bit like this, it could be the brown argus, but it's absent. There's no spot there. See the spot there? No spot there. And the other thing about the brown argus is to look for, because quite often that forewing is hidden behind the hind wing, is that little pair of spots there, which are one above the other. You see that? And here, with the common blue, it just, those spots form a complete circle or a curve, complete curve. But brown argus, you've got that, those little offset spots. Well, there's one other confusion one which we haven't come across yet, is Chapman's blue, and that's another one that's very, very similar to common blue, but it hasn't got the cell spot there. Occasionally that hasn't got a cell spot, but we don't want that to confuse us. But if you're in any doubt about whether it's Chapman's or common blue, if you can see the upper side, the male has got this sort of blue, it's called an androconial patch. It's a sort of male sex brand, and if you get the light right when you're looking at a specimen, that area can look quite white. It's quite conspicuous, whereas that doesn't. It's a sort of unicolorous blue. The other one we got here, Amanda's, again, no cell spot, so that narrows it down. The similar one to this is Escher's blue, which is, I think, is over the page. Neither of them have got cell spots, but you'll see the orange fizzles out on the Amanda's blue, whereas Escher's blue, it's pretty continuous. And the other thing about this that doesn't have is that white, that little white spike that goes into towards the middle of the wing, which again the common blue has. So that's another feature. If you see a blue, Escher's is usually quite a lot bigger than common blue. So Escher's has got that, hasn't got the cell spot, which differentiates it from that. These are all things that, you know, by looking at individual specimens you'll pick up. The Zephyr blue we were looking at down there, very much like a common blue again, but quite often the males have, that was the black spot I was talking about, and often a few more there. Again, no cell spots, so it's not common blue. Again with Idas silver studded blue, which are very difficult to separate sometimes because they vary a lot. No cell spot, usually a bit smaller than Zephyr blue. The definitive feature is a tiny little spur only on the males of the silver studded blue, which the Idas blue doesn't have, but that's a sort of microscopic thing that you need to look at. But they can be very difficult to separate. Usually Idas blue has a much narrower black border. Silver study blue has usually got a broader border. So this is the Meleager's blue, and yeah, as Peter says, it's got this prominent, almost a tail. It's got a fairly plain underside, but it's got this quite scalloped margin to the hind wing. Females are unmistakable. They're much more
Have you ever seen this other
dentated.
form, this Stevenii, is it called?
That one, yeah, we had both last year.
Did you really?
The site we went to yesterday, the final site, we had a beautiful, freshly emerged specimen of the female, which is one of the loveliest blues I've ever seen, I think. You can see the colours are different as the light hits it. But yeah, we had a few of the brown form, which aren't quite so dramatic. But yes, it's that very strong scalloping, especially in the female. The other one we had was that Dan had was the turquoise blue, which is this one here, which is quite superficially in flight. It can look like the Adonis blue, a very bright blue turquoise, but you notice it's got absolutely no black markings on the fringes. And if you see the underside, it's quite distinctive. It's got very pale marginal edges. So that's one to look out for. Should be around. And then eventually we've got another group, the anomalous blues, which are not blue, they're brown. And we'll cover those when we get to them, because they're quite tricky. Right, now I'm going to test you all now on the various spots on various blues. No, I'm not. But at least those are the points, the areas to look at, particularly that cell spot, whether it's present or absent. And that white point that goes in that the common blue, Escher's blue, has, look out for that. And it's a process of elimination, really, if you can see these different points and spots and whether they've got checkered wing fringes. That's the various ways.
I would recommend that you watch that video a number of times because there's an awful lot of information in it. The book that Richard was using was the Collins Butterfly Guide, which was written by Tom Tolman, and of course Richard did the illustrations himself. They are fantastic illustrations, and they really help to look for those diagnostic features that he was pointing out. I also like to use it in conjunction with Tristan Lafrancis's book, Butterflies of Europe. This book is of course out of print, but you can get a PDF copy from Tristan if you email him directly. Tristan's book is helpful because it's a key, and using this in conjunction with Richard's illustrations makes identification so much easier. Well, I wish you well, and I hope that you have great fun identifying the European blues.